Hi everyone, this is Tanuja here, holistic nutritionist and digestion whiz, and I'm also a mind-body transformer because I work on helping you to reconnect with your body and nourish yourself, your body and your mind. And today I want to talk about bloating and gas. And that's something that has come up in a couple of different discussions in groups, and I know as an entrepreneur, being prone to stress, that is a very common occurrence, and I thought, why not today touch upon that and talk to you guys about bloating. So any of you guys feel bloated? Any of you guys feel you have that pregnant look, either by the evening or all day long or soon after you eat something? It's a pretty common thing to be bloated, and it might be accompanied for you with cramps, or it might just be an awkward abdominal distension and feeling that not a pleasant feeling overall. So let's discuss today why we feel bloated. What are the reasons behind bloating and what can you do about it? Number one, you got to understand where is the bloating coming from. So the first thing is, if you are trying to eat healthy, and especially if you've not been used to eating healthier and you're trying to eat cleaner, you're trying to eat more vegetables and fruits, you might actually be more bloated. Why is that? Because there is a lot of fiber in these foods. And hi, whoever is joining, please say hi. I'd love to interact with you. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. We're just talking about bloating today and what are the causes. I'm just getting started. So number one reason, if you're trying to eat healthy, having more fruits and vegetables, it has a lot of fiber in it, and that might be the reason as to why you are feeling bloated, because all that fiber that you're eating from the fruits and vegetables, the body is not used to it. So it is taking time to adjust. Now, if this continues, if you've just, hi Nancy, hey, thank you for joining, welcome. So so like I was saying, if you're trying to eat healthy now and you're switching your diet, so your body might not still be used to it, and therefore it might be causing gas and bloating. Now that is okay for the interim till the body gets used to all the fiber and starts processing it. But if it continues over a period of time, then that might mean, second reason, that you might have low stomach acid and less digestive juices overall. So when we eat food, the digestive juices, the digestive enzymes, and the hydrochloric acid, which is in the stomach, they break down the food. Now, if generally over the age of 30, the digestive juices do start declining, the production of digestive juices. But if you are stressed, for example, that will further reduce the amount of juices being produced. So when that happens, what the food that you eat is not being broken down fully, and there are chunks and segments of it which will be left for the bacteria to act upon, and a result of that is gas and bloating. So another reason why you might be experiencing that is an underactive stomach. I just lost the word there for a moment. The third reason why you might be having gas or bloating or experiencing it is if your diet is high in beans and legumes or protein overall. So if you're eating a lot of meat products, and beans and legumes being the vegetarian source of protein, if your diet is high in them, then also you will feel a lot of gas and bloating. The other reason why you experience bloating is food sensitivities. Now, a lot of people actually don't think about food sensitivities. You might think, oh yeah, it's an odd thing, once in a while I'll eat something and it doesn't agree with me. But allergies and food sensitivities are very different. So allergy is a very different immune response in the body, and when you are celiac or you're gluten sensitive, you're allergic to gluten, that is a very different response. Sensitivity is something where you eat, but the reaction by the body is not immediate. It might happen up to 24 to 48 to even 72 hours after you've eaten a food. So you really want to monitor what you're eating and what you might be sensitive to. With the food sensitivities come, the third thing is dairy. Dairy causes a lot of gas and bloating for most people. It's just the nature of dairy and the sugars that are present in it, which leads me to the next thing. Diets that are high in sugar and processed foods also will cause bloating. So sugars in general, the byproducts, once it's broken down, if your gut bacteria is not balanced, you will have a lot of gas and bloating because of that. So diets that are high in sugar will definitely cause bloating. Now, another little disclaimer or point I want to put in there is sugar is not just table sugar. Right? Sugar comes from all carbohydrates because carbohydrates convert to sugar in the body. So if your diet is high in processed carbs or generally in carbs, and worse still if it's high in processed carbs like a lot of breads and bagels and pasta, especially the white variety, not the complex ones or the whole grain ones, then you are definitely having a lot of sugars in your diet. So sugars are another reason which cause bloating. Connected with that is a candida infection. So when our diets are high in sugars or refined carbs, we are essentially feeding a lot of sugar to the body, and candida, which is a yeast in most of our guts, is one of those bad yeasts, and that will get stronger because candida actually feeds on sugar. That's its food. So the more you're getting dietary sugars in different forms, the more stronger this candida is getting in your body. And again, one of the byproducts of its waste and breakdown and toxins will be gas, and it will cause you bloating. So there are several reasons. The other interesting thing is if you drink your beverages with a straw, or you have a lot of soda or pop, which already has gas aerated in it, that will also cause gas and bloating. So just drinking by a straw gives you the opportunity to be sucking in air at the same time, and that will cause gas and bloating. So there's so many different reasons. Just as a quick recap: 1, underactive stomach; 2, too much fiber in the diet; 3, a diet that's high in proteins or which is animal protein or beans and legumes. Then what else did I go over? Candida infection, foods that are high in sugar or processed foods overall, and drinking with a straw. Now, the other last one is constipation. A lot of us, especially the people who are stressed, and I know entrepreneurs are pretty stressed. Live example here, right? Like when we stress, we tense up and we are constipated. And again, if you're constipated, that means the body's natural detoxing reaction, which is through your bowel movements, is not happening. So all that food is sitting there, all those toxins that the body was supposed to get rid of are sitting in your intestines, and they're rotting and fermenting there, really. Thank you, Nancy. So if you have any questions, please feel to pop it in here, and I'll be happy to answer it for you. So all these toxins are now sitting in your body and they can't get out. They're sitting there rotting, fermenting, and again, a byproduct of that will be gas. It'll cause you bloating. One of the key ways to figure out whether your bloating is caused by constipation or by any of these other reasons is to actually feel your stomach. Now, if your stomach is actually pretty taut or hard, that means you're constipated, and of course you'll know you're constipated too because you're not going regularly. But if you do the stomach test, like just press against your stomach and it feels very hard and almost puffed up, like almost rock solid sometimes, right? Depending on how constipated we are, the stomach can be rock solid when you touch. That means you have impacted stools, and that means you definitely need to do something about your constipation and get rid of all those toxins that are building up in the body. Ideally, you want to go once a day. If not, twice a day is good too. Ideal is 1 to 2 times a day. If you're not going for 3 days, 4 days, you're definitely constipated. One more thing, I know it's a bit off tangent and off topic with constipation, but the other thing is, even if you're going daily, but your poop is not regular, like, you know, it's small amounts, or it's like little pellets, it's TMI, probably gross, yes, but I talk about poop all the time. So if it's little pellets, then also you're constipated. So you might be going daily, but if your bowels are not clearing out, you're still constipated. So think about that. So these were the different reasons why you might be bloated or constipated and having gas. Now, solution, what do we do? So like I said, the first thing you want to consider is, if you're eating healthier and, you know, you're having more fiber, then it's just the body is adjusting right now, and that should correct itself. So actually eating a good amount of fiber daily is important for your body to get rid of the toxins, to be regular and not be constipated. So fiber is the solution and part of the problem at the same time, if you know what I'm saying. There are two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. And depending on what you're having more of, you know, again, you might be feeling constipated. So insoluble fiber is the fiber that doesn't get, you know, as the word says, it's insoluble. And all it does is it helps to form your bowels so that you can go and, you know, it makes basically the bulk of your bowels. And then the soluble fiber is which actually makes a gel with the water, and that is what also makes part of the stools. But again, so say if you're having psyllium, for example, psyllium fibers, but you don't drink enough water, now that gel is formed and you're actually clogging yourself on the inside, and that clogging is not good, because you need water to flush it out, otherwise it'll just sit there. So it's almost like a little sponge that is now filled with water, and it is clogging your intestines, but it's not moving forward because there isn't enough water to flush it out. So make sure that, you know, yes, you're having enough fiber from natural foods. Give your body the time to adjust. And if you still feel constipated, that means you most likely don't have enough stomach acid or juices to break down the foods that you're eating, which means you might need supplements in the form of digestive enzymes, and sometimes even stomach acid or hydrochloric acid. Now, note of caution here. Don't just go buy digestive enzymes off the shelf. They are readily available in the supplement store, but don't do that for the simple reason there are different types of digestive enzymes, right? There'll be papain in there, there might be bromelain in there, and different enzymes are used to break down different macronutrients, right? So for cellulose or for carbohydrates, we need different types of enzymes, versus for protein like bromelain and papain, they help to break down the protein component. So you want to make sure that you have consulted with somebody like a nutritionist or a health practitioner who knows about their enzymes. Sometimes the enzymes come with ox biles, so these are for people who have gallbladder issues. So you really, really want to make sure that you are, you know, discussing this with somebody who knows, so that you can take the right, you know, digestive enzyme or supplement to help you. And the hydrochloric acid, it's the same thing. If you are already, you know, experiencing heartburn or any other symptoms like that, acid reflux, then you want to be very careful with the amount of hydrochloric acid or stomach acid that you're taking, because you might just aggravate the problem. So be careful, you might need those, but that's where, you know, get the help of a practitioner. Beans and legumes, if you are eating those, which are great, I love my beans and legumes too, there are particular ways of cooking, like, you know, when you are soaking them overnight in order to cook them the next morning, make sure you throw the water that it's being soaked in, because all the starches and those extra, you know, chemicals, which are the good natural chemicals in the food, they get washed away, and then you don't get as much bloating in the body. Candida infection, you definitely want to address that, and there is a whole Candida protocol, and I could do a whole different live stream on that topic, but there is a Candida protocol where you make sure you eliminate foods, and it's a pretty strict protocol, at least in the beginning, because the goal here is to get rid of the candida infection and make sure that you have a balanced gut microbe population. So an anti-candida protocol would be required. In terms of food tolerances, keeping a food journal is the best way. So start noticing what you're eating regularly and which foods, like at what times do you start feeling bloating. So you might start finding a pattern that every time I say eat spinach or I eat kale or broccoli, I feel more bloated, I have more gas, and those might be the foods that you're actually sensitive to. Now, just from my personal experience, kale is a superfood, and a couple of years ago there was this whole bandwagon of people jumping on the kale craze, and I was like that too. I said, yeah, kale, and I was putting in my smoothies and all of that. Now, kale is a pretty tough fiber to break down by the body, and if your digestive system is weak, it might not be able to handle all that kale. So actually, when I started having my juices with kale, and then when I started putting kale in my smoothies, my diarrhea got worse. And I couldn't figure out I'm eating healthy, what's going on, until I started removing kale. And that's when I figured out, it's probably too much for my body. So I actually have to cook kale before I can eat kale. Otherwise, the raw kale is just too much for my body. So start noticing these things about the foods that you can tolerate or not tolerate, what's going on. And of course, you want to get regular for constipation. So fiber helps, drinking water, exercising, reducing your stress levels. All of these will help with constipation. Like I said, if drinking with a straw is, giving you that extra gas because you do tend to suck in more air when you drink with a straw, then you want to make sure that you're sipping from a glass, your beverages, rather than using a straw, and definitely reduce the amount of carbonated beverages. So even if you are drinking healthy and not having a lot of pop, but these days you get lemonades with soda in them, or you're having aerated water, then you might want to be careful, especially if you are suffering from bloating and gas. What else? I think I covered most of the topics that I talked about. So if you have more questions, feel free to pop them in here. Basically, you want to make sure that your gut is functioning properly. What does that mean? Everybody says I want to be healthy, but for a proper functioning gut means, one, you're able to enjoy a variety of foods without any symptoms like gas or bloating or constipation or diarrhea or IBS or sensitivities or rashes on the skin or having that brain fog. All of these could be signs that you're intolerant to foods. So when we talk about a healthy gut, all we want to make sure is that you are actually able to eat all the foods that, in a variety of foods and your favorite foods. You want to make sure that you don't experience any of these symptoms, which means the foods that you eat are digested quickly by the body, the nutrients are absorbed so that you have energy, and from that point it is eliminated quickly as well, so that there is no constipation or buildup of toxins in the body. So that's how, in simple ways, I would say a healthy gut would look like. And so you really want to make sure, if you have any gut issue, especially going on for more than 3 months, then you want to look deeper and figure out what is causing those gut issues. Because, once in a while having acid reflux or heartburn or a gas, it's pretty normal. Everybody goes through it. But if you're consistently suffering from symptoms for more than 3 months, I would definitely suggest look deeper and consult with a nutritionist or a healthcare provider who can, guide you further. So I hope that was helpful. You found the tips useful and you will try them out. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer if you're catching this on a replay. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye. Oh, have a great weekend.